We, in fact, have two key numbers, the key numbers. Obviously, we've jumped past the 3 in Kansas City, Baltimore, up to 4. So that was sitting 3 for a bit. So if you liked Baltimore early in the week, you're missing the best of it. And now that number continues to climb. Dustin, you and we've all been talking about the fact that we think the numbers have kind of gone opposite of what we expected. And reasons, for example, the Chiefs and Ravens, and I was digging more into the Baltimore numbers, like efficiency-wise, adjusted strength of schedule, they're not just good, they're all-time good. Their numbers this year are ridiculous. I gave you the stat yesterday, but again, a lot of it just comes down to the better team, numbers-wise, in Baltimore, at home with a great crowd, and then you have Superman and Patrick Mahomes. Like, the easiest thing to do today, boys, would be, well, you can't fade Mahomes because he proves over and over again the doubters wrong. So that would be one thing, but there are many, many numbers backing Baltimore, and I think there's a reason that number has jumped up to 4. A couple of things. The key move from 3 to 3.5, now up to 4, that's all the difference, right? And then Jackson. Let's, again, just give you something we talked about a little bit yesterday. Lamar Jackson, 22-6 ATS when he's favored by 3 or less. He's 6-1 this year, favored by 3 or less. In his career, he's 22-31 in this situation, so he's well below 500. 22-31 when he is favored by 3.5 or more. Take it what you will further. 6-0, the Ravens this year. We talked about strength of schedule, boys. Teams that are 3 games or better above 500. The Ravens are 6-0, and what are they doing to those teams? They're beating them by an average of 26 points. This is a great team, not a good team by the numbers.
So that plays right into my research for conference championships in general over the last 10 years, regardless of what seeds are involved, because I went and looked, favorites, just 11 and 9 ATS, but I wanted to see how it mattered by how many points they were favored by. So playing right into this with the Ravens, favorites of 3.5 or more, 7-4 ATS. Sorry, 7-3 ATS, right? Yeah. Favorites 3.5 to 6.5 are 3-1 ATS. Whereas in the other game, San Francisco and Detroit, favorites of 7 and more, just 3-3 ATS. That leads me to believe that our instinct was completely wrong. That line move with the Chiefs going from 3.5 to 4-point underdogs on the road at Baltimore made sense based on the data over the last 10 years.
Now, again, you're not expecting with Patrick Mahomes a blowout, but I'm just going based on the data what Baltimore has done to good teams this year. Okay, so if there's a potential blowout, you know who doesn't put up crazy numbers and blowouts for the Ravens? Lamar Jackson. And his blowout wins and the Ravens' blowout wins this year, he's rushed for under 51 yards and passed for under 200 yards. His total on rush yards is 64.5. I'm not going to trifle with that because he's better at running the football than anybody in 100 years of the sport. But I will say this. I'm going to start with the prop on this game, and then we can talk about the side and total. I'm going to go under 211.5 per pass yards because I think it's going to be a run-dependent offense for the Ravens. So under 211.5, Lamar Jackson, boys.
I like that call, and I'll add to it. I like Lamar Jackson under 28.5 passing attempts in this game. I think Baltimore's success has to come on the ground. I think there will be plays where Lamar, the play breaks down. He won't end up throwing the ball. He'll end up rushing the ball. So for me, I think it's a pretty good opportunity. And by the way, you talked about a Kansas City not getting blown out. They got beat by 15 points by Denver this year. Last year, guys, they never lost a game by more than 3 points.
It's been a weird year. It's been a weird year. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote down in my notes, was that an anomaly against the Bills last week? Because the Chiefs, while the offense hasn't been great, big guy, we're looking, and I do love the under in this game, so I'll just throw that out there. But we're looking at the Ravens, the best scoring defense in all of football, and that defensive coordinator is a wizard. 16.5 points. The second best scoring defense, the Chiefs, 17.3. So I do like the way this number's come down a little bit. 44.5, I'm going to go under. However, Prop Prince, you were nodding your head vociferously yes when I said under Lamar Jackson pass yards.
I thought that number was a little high. I didn't.
Feels a little high.
It feels, when you look at the way Snead is playing corner right now, with the way McDuffie is playing in the nickel, with the way that front can get a push, I don't envision a world where Lamar's just sitting back there, chucking the ball, picking it apart. He's one win away from going to the Super Bowl, which after signing that contract, he wants to shut up a lot of people. He's one of those rare guys. He does hear the outside noise, and it pushes him and motivates him. He's kind of a rare case. That's why I like him to go over his 10.5 rush attempts. I think his legs are the key in this one. He's not sitting back and picking apart this secondary and this defense that hits people, knocks people around. I think Lamar's legs are the key to this one. And when I look at what he's done recently, or what teams have done recently against this defense for Kansas City, Josh Allen, 12 attempts. Easton Stick, 13. Allen had 10 in the regular season. Hurts had 12. Fields had 11. When they face a running quarterback, they know those guys aren't going to be able to throw it. They're going to run it a little bit more. Over 10.5 rush attempts for Lamar.
I tend to agree with you, and I add to it a couple of factors. Think about this. There will be at least 2 to 3 sequences in this game. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, where Lamar is going to be able to add to his rushing attempts total. The other thing I would say, against Steve Spagnuolo, he has played him 3 times. He's played the Chiefs 4 times, 1 and 3 lifetime. But against Spagnuolo's defense, the first time around, 8 carries for 46 yards. Next time, 9 for 83. And the third and final time, the last time they met in 2021, Lamar Jackson was spectacular on the ground, 16 carries for 107 yards. Guys, think about this. Lamar Jackson now is in his 6th year in the National Football League. Over an 8-year span between 2016 when he won the Heisman, should have won in 2017 with all due respect to Baker Mayfield. Lamar was still the best player in college football. Should have gone back-to-back. And he's going to win a 2nd MVP this year. This guy has delivered at the highest level, been the best individual football player 4 out of 8 years. We know the greatness of Patrick Mahomes on the other side, not taking a thing away from him. But I'm telling you, I love these Lamar Jackson rushing props we talked about with Stewart. I think no matter how much you scheme for Lamar Jackson, there is nothing you can do to be able to duplicate the speed and quickness that exists out of number 8.
Let me add to the evidence for you two on the rush props for Lamar Jackson. The Bills just ran for 182 against the Chiefs. The Chiefs says Patrick Mahomes. You think John Harbaugh didn't look at his OC, Todd Monken, and say, we need to replicate what the Bills just did, but we're better at it. We run the football better than they do. Allen, 12 rushes. That goes to your rushing attempts, boys. Allen, 12 rushes, 72 yards. That goes over the total for Jackson. Jackson led the NFL, 821, 5.5 average on the ground. 11 for 100 yards and 2 scores against the Texans. I like your rush prop. I'll still stay under the pass prop.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds. Listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.